What's up, guys? Welcome back and good morning. As you saw in the last episode, the Corvair left me stranded amidst working on the OBS, putting new shocks in the truck. So that episode turned into a recovery episode to go get the Corvair, which is now home. So I got home last night, and this is basically now turning into a new episode where I'm replacing the fuel pump in the Corvair, because I'm pretty certain that's what happened in the Corvair yesterday. It's not the first time the mechanical fuel pump has failed me. Ethanol in our fuel today eats those rubber diaphragms out very aggressively. So I have gone to an electric fuel pump in this car before, but I had some key power issues, and I'd accidentally run the key power to the fuel pump through my points key power. So every time I was under load with the throttle, the fuel pump calling for more fuel put electronic load on my points, which messed with my timing. And rather than just rewiring the fuel pump, I just put a new mechanical in because that's the way the motor was designed to run, and everything worked fine. Now that I'm in Tennessee and I've got access to ethanol-free gas stations more close by, I'm hoping that with this new fuel pump that I just went to pick up will last longer than the ones that have lasted me in New Hampshire, because I'm only going to be putting ethanol-free fuel in this fuel pump. So I just went and picked a new fuel pump up. Luckily, O'Reilly's was able to get one overnight, which is actually better than I was expecting. It's a Corvair specific part, so not everybody stocks it. Hardly anybody stocks it. There's a Corvair specific shop up in Massachusetts called Clark's Corvair, and they stock a lot of stuff, but again, wouldn't have been able to get it yesterday, which is why I ultimately dug my trailer out to go get the Corvair, so it didn't have to sit in the parking lot where it broke down. We've got rain coming today, so I'm going to try to do my best to film this well, I guess, but also get it done hastily so I can get the car back in the shop. Okay, so this is the new fuel pump here. Clark's Corvair up in Massachusetts, I think still has these for like $65, which is awesome. That's what I've paid for them in the past. This one, unfortunately, especially with the Tennessee sales tax, turned into about $120. This is the new one. This is pretty rudimentary fuel pump. Basically, this push rod here operates the diaphragm, which the lobe in the motor pushes against that, runs the push rod, and then as this diaphragm works, it's sucking fuel from this port, from your fuel tank at the front of the car, pulling fuel to it, and then pushing it out of this port, which comes out to a T, because my car is a twin carbureted car. So I run a T off of that output to each carburetor. And so what I did yesterday was I unhooked the line at the T, or both lines at the T, and cranked the car so that diaphragm would work and pump, and no fuel was coming out. So I think the diaphragm is ripped inside, and therefore it's just sucking air and it's not pulling any fuel. Now, yeah, there are some variables where I could have had something clogging my fuel line before the fuel pump. This particular time, the car quit while I was driving, and after miraculously navigating through traffic to get into a safe parking lot, noticed that it wasn't putting fuel out anywhere, not out the output or out the side of the body. So it's not acting as previous fuel pumps that have failed have, but that doesn't mean that the diaphragm inside the fuel pump is torn, eroded, or bad. This episode is brought to you by Wheel Price, the Wheel Classifieds app designed by automotive enthusiasts. Buy and sell your wheels on the app today, which is downloadable for free through the links in the video's description below. Available for iOS products and Android devices. So if you've been searching for that dream set of wheels that you can't find anywhere else in that specific offset or size, make sure to download the Wheel Price app and set your notifications on and get push notifications to your mobile phone the second that those wheels are listed. Okay, so here's where the fuel pump mounts in the Corvair. The back of the motor, technically the front of the motor. This is my fuel line in, and this is my fuel line out to this T. You can see I've already unhooked one of the fuel lines. In the port that the shaft and push rod of the fuel pump sit down in, there's a hole where this set screw goes through, and on the actual shaft of the fuel pump, there's a port for that set screw, and it's right there. right there is where that bolt sits and holds it in. So when that push rod moves, it doesn't actually move the fuel pump up and down. And I've actually been left beside the road in the Corvair before when that jam nut that's on that screw has come loose and popped the fuel pump up out of its seat to where the push rod wasn't working anymore because the fuel pump was sitting above the lobe that pushes on it. And at that point, that's like best case scenario, because all I have to do is back that bolt out, push the fuel pump back down, tighten the bolt up, and you're good to go. That's not what's happened at this point, because I've already looked at that. That was the first thing I checked. All right, new fuel pump is in. Gonna try to get her started, and the rain has started, so I'm gonna try to get this thing running, get all the straps unhooked. I can kind of get in here with the door open. Every other car, I have to Dale Earnhardt my way into this thing. All right, here we go. All right, come on. Okay, so I'm having a hard time getting it primed, and I don't want to keep just cranking on the car and making the fuel pump do all the work. So I've cracked the line. I've separated the line from my fuel tank to the fuel pump, and I've brought my hose out from the compressor, and I'm going to use this rag and tighten the air line around the fuel neck in the gas door and try to pressurize my tank to push fuel up my fuel line. I'm not positive the fuel pump's bad. More than likely it is. But in case there's a blockage in the line, hopefully pressurizing the tank will clear that blockage. And at the very least, if it was the fuel pump to begin with, it'll at least prime the line. I heard it. Yep. All right, well, we got fuel to the back of the line. I really put it right to it because I couldn't hear anything happening in the fuel line. Ooh, I've got some fuel back here. I wonder if I've got a break in the line. I bet I do. I bet I have a break in that line. All right, so I may have found the culprit, which this might be a $120 lesson learned for me. When I pressurize the tank, I've got a leak at the firewall, and upon getting a line of sight between the fender well and the tire, I can see that the main hard line to a 6-inch rubber line to the hard line that comes into the engine bay is leaking right at that rubber line. And it looks like the top of that rubber line may have come loose, like the clamp had let go or something. So I'm going to jack the car up, get the wheel off so I can get in there and actually see if that has come apart and retighten everything, make sure that rubber line doesn't have a slit in it or anything. The rubber's good because I replaced all the rubber in the car a couple years ago. The lesson learned would be if I could have pressurized my line first before I did the fuel pump, I would have found that leak if that's what the ultimate culprit was. All right, guys, found the culprit. Got the car jacked up, got the wheel off. She's real tight in here. But let me see if I can show you. Inside right here, that guy right there, top of that rubber line, you might even be able to see space. Look at that. Slipped right off. So that is why the car ran out of fuel while I was driving. I didn't really have the means to pressurize my tank out at the gas station. The car does have onboard air. I have a chuck on the tank, but I didn't carry a hose with me. Okay, line is back on and tight. I didn't repressurize the tank. I'm gonna just crank it and hopefully it'll start. Okay, so I'm an idiot and started cranking without reconnecting my fuel line to the fuel pump. So that pump was just sucking air the whole time. Gotta get my head screwed on straight. What I didn't film was the first start, and I should have because this was the first one. But all right. Oh my gosh. All right, guys. Well, the Corvair is back running out of the trailer, back in the shop. If I'd had a hose on me in the Corvair, I could have used the onboard air in the car to pressurize the tank, which would have uncovered the leak before the firewall. And all I would have had to do is jack the car up, which I usually carry one of my low jacks. I've got 3 of them here in the shop. Yeah, if I had been stocked up as I normally am in the Corvair with my toolkit, it was just a socket set, the hose and a low jack, I would have been able to fix it right there in the parking lot. Would have been able to pressurize it, find the leak, fix the leak with a simple 1/4-inch socket on the worm gear, tighten it up, and driven the thing home. Yeah, the last couple episodes have not gone the way I really wanted them to go. And I still have to finish the truck. I still have to get the truck in here after today. It's pouring out. Tomorrow we've got snow possible, but definitely rain and precipitation in the forecast here in southern Tennessee. So it might become a mess. But I still have to get the truck in here and do the driver's side shock, which I was in the process of doing in the last episode when I ended up having to go rescue the Corvair. So that's got a new shock on the passenger side. Still have to do the driver's side and headlights, front lights. I'm going to redo all the lighting up front in that truck before the trip to Euro Tripper in Fort Myers in just about 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks now. I'm going to end the video there. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next episode.